Thanks for clicking on this episode. Just a quick PSA, the camera that was meant to be in focus on me is not in focus on me. Unfortunately, every time the camera pans to me, I'm blurry, but the audio is crystal clear. So listen away, enjoy the episode, and let's get started.
No, the first topic is our Phades. Mine is fresh as fuck.
That's great.
I'm feeling really good. Yours is still fresh as, man.
Yeah, it's like not F fresh, it's like pH fresh.
But what do you mean?
There's been a couple of days between when it was done and the regrowth.
Hang on, are you telling me that
It's not fresh, don't tell him.
pH is below F fresh?
It is. Fresh is like official, as early as possible.
That's pH fresh.
Yep. Yeah. That's what? It's just Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days. 4 days.
I know, but what I'm telling you is pH fresh is like, that is the S tier fresh.
Not when it comes to hair.
F fresh is
No.
It's just boring. That's how everyone spells it.
No. All right, mister, I got a fresh fade. I'm going to flaunt it. We get it.
What do you reckon, man? I feel cold, actually. You know, when you first get it done, it's freezing.
Looks mad. Yeah, look more to your left. Yeah, hard left. Yeah.
Oh, you're trying to
give you that angle.
What do you reckon?
Damn.
The bigger the angle, the bigger my nose looks too.
Very aesthetic. You could like run for Calvin Klein if you wanted to.
I don't think I can.
I mean, what do you think? Is there a microphone for this individual?
No one can hear him.
Neither can I.
Welcome again, my friend. Thank you for taking the time. I know this is actually pretty far from your house. Did it take you like an hour to get
40
here?
minutes.
40 minutes in like no traffic. Would have been way more.
No, there's still traffic. You said be here at 11:15. Mm-hmm. I finished some work. 10:20. Yeah, I got time to eat. Travel time 40 minutes. Ooh, that's pushing it. So yeah, by the time I jumped in the car, 10:30 odd. Right on time.
You got here at 10:14, so very good.
Made the cut.
Yeah, very good. I watched something the other day, and it spoke about steps. Spoke about people doing their steps, their daily steps, and all that sort of stuff. That thing claimed that if you do
18,000.
it was 10,000, which is like what everyone talks about. 10,000 steps a day apparently reduces your mortality by 50% or something crazy. I don't know if I believe that. But what I wanted to ask you was, how important are steps for the average person, and how important are steps for people that are, say, in a fat loss phase, or they're trying to achieve a certain body image or whatever it is? How important are steps?
Incredibly important. And you're on the money with the mortality risk reduction rate. There's a study that from memory, it's around 17 to 18,000 steps per day for an even higher, greater risk of mortality reduction. But who's getting 17K per day?
That's a lot.
Me, because I'm retarded. But other than that,
You're really doing 18,000 steps a day?
you see my story last night?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
This guy, one of those like TikTok scrollers. Yeah, I saw your story. But yeah, so look, the average person is like not getting even 10,000. Let's be real. Average step count for most people are 3 to 5K, not even 5K, 3.
I just looked at mine, and mine is 6,500, which is pretty
For
poor.
today?
No, my average over like the last 2 weeks, which granted I've been a bit sick and whatever, but still like that's pretty crap, right? Do you think is 10,000 a good number? Is that, because I just hear that floated around so much. Is that like maybe a minimum? Like what's your opinion on that?
It is probably a little more generic. It's like, oh, that person said 10K, so everyone else just sort of follows suit. But there are some clients who only need like 8,000 or 7,000. Depends the person, right? Context is important. You know, more muscle mass, naturally a leaner individual overall. I've got some clients who are hammering 12 to 13,000 in their surplus, you know, even at like average calories, 2,000, 2,200 to maintain their body weight and keep them hungry and things alike too. So it's needed. And unless you go out of your way to make them consistent, you're not going to get them in.
That's an interesting thing you just said about like driving hunger as well, because when people are like, for example, peak bulk, they've already slammed 4,000 calories and they need to eat another 1,000. Say they're like eating a massive amount. Steps would be a good way to get that appetite going, I would presume.
If your movement is down, you will not feel as hungry. And in your surplus, you need to be as consistent as possible with food, right? 4K, whatever it might be. And that's why you might find that some coaches prescribe training day macros and non-training day macros. So for example, on your non-training days, you're not training, less overall expenditure, appetite's a bit, and you can afford to essentially eat less, if it makes sense.
Is there like an upper limit, you think, to steps? Like, would you say somebody, maybe they are in their bulking phase, would you say maybe don't do more than this? I know that's probably very rare because most people are not doing their steps, but I assume it gets to a point where like maybe it doesn't make you or turn you into a catabolic state, but it might just be like you're just wasting your energy kind of thing.
Yeah, there's no need for you to just go and hit 20K for whatever reason. I burped at that way in the last podcast too. I was like,
That's right.
remember, look, context, if it's a fat loss phase, depending on how far through, you can go crazy. If it's, let's say 10 weeks in, fat loss is stalled, hey, let's drive more steps up. There's probably no need for someone who's, bulking endlessly, who's, a pretty experienced athlete to just slave away and really focus heavily on cardio and, NEAT all day long. So within reason, but
How much do the steps contribute to the actual fat loss? I would presume and I think you've told me that it's like mainly diet, but is that sort of another, or maybe the second driving factor to fat loss?
definitely second driving factor. You rely on your deficit, as we know, and then steps just essentially, drive that even deeper into said deficit. Hence why you keep it consistent. Hence why you can't do 20K steps today, but do 0 steps tomorrow. I'm like, but I did 20K yesterday.
Yeah.
Which alleviates the need to do 10 today. It has to be consistent every day.
I would like to talk to you about kind of somebody in my position who's pretty busy most of the time, and they would like to just put on muscle mass more so for a longevity kind of thing. I'm obviously not competing, obviously not doing that, but I do want to just continue to grow, and so that when I'm older, I'm not frail, and I can pick things up, when in like 10, 15 years I can play with my kids and I'm not weak and tired. If you were coaching me directly, what would you prescribe for time spent in the gym for somebody who's like trying to not minimize their time, but like trying to be really efficient with their time? How often should they go to the gym, and like how much time do they actually need to spend there realistically?
As efficient as possible, you're still looking at 45 minutes,
Okay.
an hour if need. You're also looking at your daily step targets and movement as well. So for you, I know what you do all day for work. You're doing this for the most part.
Sitting, yes.
The
Or
majority.
maybe I'm standing at my desk, but I'm basically not moving.
That leads me into the next point, is standing already. What could you potentially be standing on and doing whilst you work?
I've thought about this. One of those little walking treadmill things. Yeah.
You can pick up, they call them a walking pad. It's like half a treadmill. I think Temu has some great options. Discount code CHUM10 for your purchase. But essentially, like, I trialed this last week for the first time. Can I do check-ins whilst I'm walking on the treadmill? Jumped onto good old ChatGPT for speed recommendations. It's like 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers max. It's like people find that it's too hard to remain coherent and speak whilst you're walking, remain attentive.
Sure.
So I trialed it at a 1.5 speed. I think I got 600 steps in 15 minutes or 20 minutes from memory.
That's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're editing 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, was half your steps done for the day.
Yeah.
So worthy investment. And even clients in a fat loss phase, and was like, if it's that serious, like, you need to get something at home to use. So, for the average person who isn't, solely focused on, steps locked in, whatever, it's just an easy way to get it in, right? Whilst you work.
For sure. Like I said, I've been looking at those recently. And so for those 45-minute to 1 hour sessions, would you recommend, actually, well, the question really is like, how often do you need to go during the week as well? Like, is 2 days enough? Is 3 days probably more optimal? I'm assuming you get like 5 days, it's probably diminishing returns unless you're like, competing or whatever. Let's take me, for example. What would you say for me? Would it be maybe like 2 to 3 days if I just wanted to continue to build slowly?
I think optimal is such a widely overused term, because if this is the bar in optimal, I can probably achieve that. Can everyone else? Probably not. It's not optimal for most people, right? From an advanced perspective. So, take someone like yourself. I know how hard you train. I've seen your intensity. You can bring it. That's a given. So I guess as long as you're hitting every muscle group at least once per week, at least. You can do it in 2 sessions. You can do it in 3 sessions. That can be sufficient for a lot of people. But end of the day, what's going to come down to? How intense those sessions actually are. You don't spend the entire session doing 20 sets of back, you do 8 sets of back or whatever, or 10, but you make those sets count, right? You hit them hard. That's how you maximize your efficiency and your time too.
I heard somebody talking about the necessity to hit every muscle twice per week. And I think they just didn't live very close to the gym. So they didn't go as often. This was just their specific scenario. But they were going there and training for like an hour and 45, sometimes 2 hours, 2 times a week or something like that, or 3 times a week. So they would manipulate their program so that they'd hit everything twice. Does it get to a point where, it gets to 90 minutes into your session and say, for example, it's a leg day, that surely that even if you try and push that intensity, that neural drive is not really going to equate to actual proper lifting, is it? There's probably a point where like you've had enough, go home and rest. When you're talking to your clients, if that ever comes up, do you have like hey, after an hour and 15, you're kind of done, right? Is that how it sort of sits? Yeah, okay.
You should feel that way after an hour at least. When I look at heavy and it's like 1 hour 10, I'm like, fuck, but take into account like I'm filming some days or whatever.
Sure.
How do you feel after an hour session?
Me?
Yeah.
After an hour, if I'm training as you see me train, I'm cooked. I'm done. I can't do. For example, the other day I did legs and I was like, hey, I didn't hit arms or whatever, and I just tried to do a few sets. I'm like, this is a waste of time. Like I'm just not achieving anything here.
So that already tells us that one, you train correctly. So if that's the case, how in God's name is this individual training almost for 2 hours? How the fuck is the latter half of their session being so effective? No chance. Or they just train like my grandma from start to finish.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's talk a little bit about maybe those important things you should do during a training session. One of those things is intensity. And like you said before, you don't want to do like 20 sets of back. I know this might be a broad kind of question, but how do you go about constructing a training program for somebody who is kind of generalized like me? They just want to kind of build everything. Do you start with like compound things? Do you go through other things? Talk us through how you sort of think through those things.
So I guess you kind of look at what is the best tailored forms of programming right now. I guess back in the day, it was the whole back, legs, chest, arms, shoulders. And now it's sort of progressed to more push-pull leg style, upper, lower style. You look at what's relevant, to the client, for example. Like you would have seen my client Manish, who just competed in men's physique. So board shorts, wide lats, big shoulders, small waist. He used to have no lats a year ago. He had no back at all. But coming off the stage, we realized like now we have to bring up your back to remain super competitive. So all of his program is specific to him. It's like, all right, Manish, you're hitting back 3 times a week. Not 20 sets a session, because how effective is that? It's not really. So you tailor it accordingly. You assess. Well, I always get my clients to send me intensity checks. Like send me videos of how hard you train. Rate how hard you think what I just watched is. Yeah, it's about a 9 out of 10. I'm like, 5. They kind of go, fuck, really? And even yesterday, you might have seen my stories again, or this is you were talking about, so you wouldn't have seen it. Someone DM me and they're like, man, your intensity is like showing me like how I should be training and things like that.
I did see that. Yeah.
Man. People are receptive to that. So they see like, okay, that's how hard I should be training. So I kind of like set the example based off of, my own training, I suppose. Sort of sets the tone for people and followers to be like, oh, okay, that's how hard. So when you sort of have that element of intensity, how many sets can you really do until you're just fucked?
Yeah.
Royally fucked. So bigger muscle groups, cool, a little more volume. Quads, back, hamstrings, whatever, cool, a little more volume. 6, 8, 10 sets most, sure. Arms, 6 odd. So just, it really it's contextual, right? It comes down to specificity of the individual. You give them what's relevant. Manish needs a bigger, wider back. Cool. A little more, volume here and there. But he's not exceeding more than like 12 working sets to 14 working sets across 3 sessions. So they're efficient sessions.
I guess also, and this is kind of a new thing for me because I've been training a lot more consistently in the last probably 2 years or so than I have for a long time. And I'm finding that certain exercises, let's talk about like doing quads or something like that, like a hack squat or something like that. I found that if I do more than 2 sets of those a week, or like 2 sets of heavy deadlifts, I find that if I do that, I feel like almost depleted, and like I don't go up, like I don't do another rep, or I don't go up in weight for a few weeks unless I take like let's not call it a deload, but maybe like 1 week off that exercise. Is that the fact that my body's just not recovering? Is it just like built up systemic fatigue? Is that what happens with certain body groups? I don't really know, and I'm starting to learn about that now because it's affecting me. Maybe talk about what some of those movements are and what might be common for some people to feel in those types of scenarios.
It could be, to answer your question in simple terms, you're looking at deadlifts, looking at your lower back. Typically,
they're RDLs, if that makes any difference.
Okay,
but
I'm thinking
sure.
conventional deads.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Romanians.
Romanians once a fortnight. Sure, it's not uncommon that you're still going to progress, right? As long as your sessions are still decent. So things like.
Did I say every fortnight? If I did, I
every
meant
2 weeks.
If I meant every week. Sorry if I said that.
Okay, I was going to say, we're doing once a fortnight. It's weird.
No. What I meant was, if I'm doing every week, sometimes I'll take a week off because I'm not progressing, or I feel like my body just like doesn't want to do that exercise in a strange way. If that makes sense.
Not at all, but we'll roll with it.
Yeah, it just feels like a fatigue thing, I guess. Yeah. But yeah,
could be a recovery thing. You look at other factors. You've had a little one grace your life recently. How's your sleep? It's been broken up and down. More dad duties accordingly, more stress. So all these things can impact that for sure.
And so maybe what are those things that people can look out for when, like you said, sleep? Like what are some of those things that people can pay attention to?
So signs of fatigue and like nervous system stress overall.
Maybe they're just not progressing in the gym as much as they thought they would. What are some things that could be not helping them? Yeah, impacting.
Could be like too much volume, right? I guess everyone's different. If I repeat the same volume margins I said a moment ago, like that might be great for you. That might be so exhausting for me. There was a point where in the off season where I pulled back on all the heavy stuff to 1 working set. Like hack squats became 1 working set. You work up to like 5 plates. I hit the first set and I'm just like, I just can't do a second. So in that essence too, to pull that right down. So you kind of know your body. There are other signals too. When your appetite is impacted, you just don't feel like eating at all. That's also a sign of like CNS fatigue too.
Okay.
So it just depends. I manage that personally by training 4 days. I only train 4 days. I love it. I find training 5, it's hard based off of managing fatigue. I'm just so exhausted. I'd rather have 4 good, consistent, refreshed sessions rather than 5 like, oh, fuck, that was a stress. I had to push through and I could have trained harder. So now that I've pulled back down to 4, every session is exactly how you'd expect. So, that's working for me. Might not work for you, or if someone who doesn't quite have the same intensity, they should keep training 5 days as they are. So again, it's so specific to the individual.
What are some let's call them like simple changes, things that people can do, or maybe things that you notice when you're first taking on new clients? What are some like low-hanging fruit? What are some things that people are kind of doing wrong that maybe people can take from this podcast and sort of make incremental improvements where they can?
Volume is number 1. Everyone's doing far too much. I had a guy start last week. You want to see my old program?
Sure.
In my head, I'm like, no, because I already know how it looks, man. Fucking hell. Some of the shit, man. 4 sets. And I pull them up. I'm like, as an example, I'm like, do you really think they're not super advanced, right? They're all Gen Pop. Like, do you think that you need 4 sets? Oh, no, I just kind of like do it because, well, what do you say about us pulling back on the working sets and like getting more out of each set? Oh, yeah, that would save me a lot of time. And like, so that people just don't really know, I guess, that they're doing too much. Unless you're sort of getting the right resources from the right sort of, places, you're not really going to know. People just naturally think that more is better, whereas less is more.
Yeah.
That applies to PEDs too. But training volume is number one, I would say. People feeling like they have to do so much. Then you'll love this one, the rest times. I've got to do everything with 45 seconds of rest in between. So answer me this. You're doing your hack squat or whatever, top set. You're telling me you're going to just bang out a top set, RP 9 or 10, a complete failure. You're going to jump off, rest for 45 and go again and match that, if not do better.
I still can't breathe after 45 seconds. What are you talking about?
You should work on that, bro.
Yeah. but yeah, obviously it needs a couple of minutes there.
Yeah. So if you don't feel that way after your first working set, what's the answer there? You don't train hard enough.
Yeah.
So that's what it's hard training. People just think that hard training means do more volume.
Yeah.
And when people like, why do you do such fewer volume or such, minimal effective volume? It's like, it's all you need, So intensity always comes first for those people. So yeah, rest times, too much volume, form, range of motion. Client this morning sent me a video, first time seeing how he trains, barbell curls. Barbell curls don't extend fully. I'm like, hey, full range of motion, in any case. So those are the main things I would say.
Cool. Yeah.
I would say.
Great tips. It seems to me, of all the, let's call it fitness content that I've been consuming, that stretch bias movements are like the thing to do these days. And obviously they have their place, and getting your muscle into a stretch position generally is pretty good. But is it a case that like every movement needs to be like that? Should you be training like every muscle to have the like the peak of the weight at like the most stretch point in your muscle? What's your opinion on that? Do you think that there is merit to that, or like do we need to consider other things as well?
So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like length and partials and whatever else too.
Yeah.
I try to not get caught up in it too much, to be honest. He said this guy said that, length and partials this, quarter range reps, whatever, get to the end of your set, failure, and then do length and partials. Yeah. I mean, was this a thing back in the 80s, the 90s? Probably to some degree here and there, but like you wouldn't really hear or see much about it. So, some movements are going to be more biased in length and position and whatever else too, as long as the programming covers, everything. So for example, you've got, we touched this in the last podcast, I'm pretty sure. You have both variations of a hamstring curl, a seated and a lengthened, right? So you're lying and a seated. So the lying hamstring curl, you're laying and you're bringing your heels back to your butt, right? That essentially is shortening.
Oh, sorry, you're asking me a question. It is. Sorry.
Get it right, Dean.
Yes, it is.
So you're shortening, right? Whereas in a seated hamstring curl, you start in the lengthened position.
Gotcha.
Right? So essentially, I guess having a combination of both is what it comes down to. I think there's probably more hype around like all that stuff more than what it needs to be. Just do the basics, mate. They work. Fucking hell.
Well, that's what I was kind of follow up with. If somebody maybe doesn't have as much fitness knowledge, it's more a case of just if you're at the gym, you're getting there consistently. It doesn't matter too much about the specific movement you're choosing.
You know what?
Like that.
I'll touch base more on that. So look at like back movements, right? The thing is like so many single arm variations of cable work for your lats. Pull down this, row position that. Man, if you only had a program comprised of like just rows, no lat pull downs, no pull ups, let's just hypothetically say, just rows, T-bar row, seated row, dumbbell row, whatever, you would still build an impressive back. You would still build a very impressive back, provided the intensity is there. So, I think there's a lot of, your back day has to have one of these types, one of those types, one of these types, target from every angle, sure, but, your intensity is going to triumph all that end of the day. And sometimes that's going to be the case, You'll go to the gym and peak out and be like, rows complete, time to do lat pull down. Well, shit, they're all taken. Or what do I do? Oh, row machine. Cool. Sometimes it's going to happen,
Instead of waiting, 15 minutes for the next person.
Yeah. Or if this is Darren McCall-Roo, about half an hour.
Well, exactly. I wanted to talk to you about the natural limit that people can get to by training naturally, right? So apparently, if you've been training since you were a teenager, by the time you get to 35, if you're consistent, that's it. That's all you can get. I watched something recently by, what's his name, Jeff Nippert, who did a whole year of him training to failure. He was supposedly already at what he thought was his natural limit, and he still put on muscle. It seems to be that there potentially isn't really a hard limit for that, and like people can keep putting on muscle, assuming that they're doing the right thing. Have you, with your clients, found people that actually find their limit, or are there always kind of like little bits and ways and things that you can tweak so that people can continue to progress?
I don't think I've ever found that limit with anyone, not even myself back in the day. As much as back then, I would have said, yeah, man, I hit my limit. Let's do gear. But there are some perfect examples. We should get some photos up on the screen here. Perfect examples of natural athletes. Look at old mate Tony. You know my good mate Tony.
Yeah.
The Asian guy. He is sometimes, like, if I stand next to him when I'm shredded and he's shredded, you're like, which one's enhanced?
Yeah.
He is just top tier, S class, has incredible genetics, but has the work ethic to match it too. So, there's merit in what, Nipper did for a year. Sure. It's very watered down in this day and age. People think that you just can't build muscle naturally. They think that, 6 months in, need gear. They don't train hard already to begin with. To find someone who is a lifetime natural, who has been doing it for 10, 15 plus years, the fact that those guys are still progressing, don't you think that they would have started using, if by year 7, they were like, well, I'm not progressing, right? Let's just push this out 7 more years. Who the fuck would, logically?
Yeah.
I don't think there is a natural limit. And yeah.
If let's take an example. Somebody has done 15 years of training. Things have slowed down for them. They're still progressing a little bit. They understand the risks and they understand that it's kind of like you can't turn back once you do try it. If this person was to say, hey, I'm ready to try performance enhancing drugs, I understand what needs to happen. I understand I kind of can't go back. If somebody asked you that question and you agreed with them that they were at the point where, they had made the mature decision, what's the first thing you speak about with this person? How do you guide them through that first cycle, really?
First thing is first. Starts with B. What is it?
Blood work.
Knows. He must be an enhanced athlete.
Definitely not.
Someone who listens. First things first is bloods before you do anything. Man, this hurts, man. This hurts. These guys sign up for coaching and, I've got questions about, I'm testing people. I want to see what you know about blood work and health and whatever, and it's always like, are you enhanced or intending to? It's like, oh, not yet, but I've got X, Y, Z ready to go. You done blood work before? No. Fair enough, they're ready to rock, but you're gonna do something about your bloods, your health. Get your starting markers first. What's your test doing? What's estrogen doing? You might find that you are a high aromatizer. Like myself, I convert to estrogen like fucking crazy.
Sorry, what does that mean specifically, just for people that might not understand?
So everyone responds differently to the compounds, right? So testosterone, you aromatize as in the testosterone gets converted to estrogen, depending on the person, at a different rate. So because I'm a high converter, I am very susceptible to high estrogenic symptoms. So side effects from steroids, I love this topic, it's fantastic, stem from, estrogenic activity for the most part. There's, prolactin stuff too. So you take a person A using, say, 100 milligrams of testosterone, TRT dose, jump in the gun. Let's say he's a low aromatizer. Cool. You have him start for 4 weeks. 4 weeks in, 6 weeks in, you check bloods. Cool, you're making enough estrogen, you're still in normal range. You take person B. Let's say that's me. If that's me, I'm getting all sorts of side effects by week 3, week 4, just because of the conversion rate is a lot higher.
What might those side effects be? What happens when you convert really quickly, like yourself?
High estrogen symptoms. I told you when I last watched the Titanic and I got a bit emotional over it. That's a big symptom. Great for the girls because they're like, oh, this guy's so emotional and in tune with it. Yeah, that's what it was. Just embarrassed to, say what it actually was. Fuck, never again. You become emotional, you become a female. All right, what happens to females during their period? What happens to estrogen?
Spikes.
Same thing if you don't control your estrogen when you use steroids. And guys don't know this shit, man. They start, I've got dick issues, things aren't working. So yeah, downstairs starts having issues. You find it harder to get an erection and maintain it. You're still getting stimulus or stimulated by whatever. You're like, you can't maintain it. Acne, you break out. I had an episode as I swapped back to testosterone, as you'd know, probably a month ago. E2 or estrogen got super high. I'm like, oh, wow, I have acne from gear. That's a first in many years. There is elevated blood pressure as well from high estrogen. The G word, gyno, super common.
Yep.
You look at the bodybuilding competitions like the IFBB last month, the majority of guys had, cases of gyno and whatever else too. Whether it's drug induced, who knows? I'd say majority would be. So those are the main things, those are the main side effects to look out for. And, there are lots of compounds that dislike each other that also cause other adverse reactions in your body. For example, the reason why I was DECA base is because one, I didn't respond well to testosterone. But two, if you use DECA with testosterone, they hate each other.
Right.
Say this so often. So they compete for the same receptors. What does that do? It increases your prolactin. So now you have elevated prolactin, which also causes other side effects too. So you say someone starts their first cycle, test DECA, whatever else, no bloods. They start pinning 3-4 weeks in. Oh, I'm getting acne and gyno and, downstairs are having issues. Like, where do you start, man? Where do you start? So that's commonly why, it's if you intend to stack compounds as such, you'd be very, very careful. But yeah, I hate to say it, but steroids are relatively safe if you're not fucking retarded.
And so if somebody was, going to go through that first thing and they were going to start things, would testosterone at maybe a TRT level be something people could try for themselves?
Yeah, that's pretty baseline. This is a great question too, whether you do this yourself, you do your own research, understanding, have a coach, you grab it off the black market and, start your own sort of protocol, or there are plenty of TRT clinics, or there's a couple that are well and truly ahead of the curve and designed for people who sort of want to know more. PHC is one of them. Primal Zone is probably one of the most popular ones to be prescribed pharmaceutical grade testosterone, have the clinic manage your blood work, and just sort of give you a starting protocol and see how you go. So yeah, not everyone wants to do the unregulated market in black market illegal activities, which is fine. So, going to a clinic like Primal Zone, for example, will help someone get on track. Now specifics, sure, most people just need a low dose of testosterone. It can be as low as 60 milligrams, it could be as low as 100 milligrams. But this is why blood work is so important. Let's say you start 100 milligrams of testosterone. Let's, for argument's sake, say that your bloods come back, both your free test and your total test are so far out of the natural range, it's ridiculous. What would you do? You titrate down, because TRT is hormone replacement. That's all it is. If I start 100 milligrams, which I just did, and I get bloods and we find that, 4, 6, 8 weeks later, my testosterone is in the bin, what do? You raise it up. So, sure, about 100 or 120 milligrams is considered hormone replacement, but with the example I just gave you, I might push up to 150 or 160 to get my testosterone level up to where it needs to be. So again, it's so specific to the individual.
If people are doing, or people are taking TRT levels of testosterone, have you seen people react in a way where they will need something like something that has to control the E2, did you call it, the estrogen? Is that something that those clinics can help you out with, or is it something? I'm just kind of trying to pick your brain here.
Yeah, this is great. I love conversing on these topics, and no one else really asks me. So, yes, so you've probably got a couple of different routes in terms of how to suppress and control and clear estrogen. Typically, what's now frowned upon, which I don't know if the clinics are still prescribing, I think they are, is an aromatase inhibitor, right? So it inhibits the conversion from testosterone to estrogen. These are in the forms of drugs called aromacin or arimidex. You know, this is the Google cycle back in the day. Like, you know, get your tests, get your AI, just go for it, bro. And we were dosing these meds twice a week, Monday, Thursday, because that's what, you know, the internet said. Little did we know that AIs, we'll refer to them as AIs now, cause hair loss, cause bone density issues, calcify your arteries. I can show you an X-ray of a calcified heart if you like. We should put on the screen right now. Like, that's pretty messed up to look at.
Yeah.
So, you know, but what do you do if you have to control estrogen, but you don't want to use AIs? Don't use AIs. There are other more natural compounds in things like DIM. DIM is probably the best suited compound to control and regulate estrogen to decrease.
What's DIM stand for?
No, I've got prep brain, no idea.
Oh,
DIM.
Okay,
DIM. We'll call
sure.
it DIM. DIM for short. Fuck, DIM. No. I'll blame prep brain for that one.
That's okay. That's okay.
He's Googling it. And then you also have, I've got to play this off now, CDG, or calcium diglucarate for short. I just started using DIM recently, so that's why I'm like, what's it called again? But calcium diglucarate is more of a, we'll just decrease estrogen, right? So you've sort of got, DIM in the sense it sort of acts as, I guess it's kind of like a SERM. In like Nolvadex and stuff, you would have been sort of familiar with, whereas diglucarate will just decrease estrogen, which, yeah, you know, you can kind of get into a routine where you have your TRT protocol managed and you are dosing diglucarate. It just depends. Some majority of people, I don't think would need it. It's just the odd case here and there is just, you know, you're a super high converter, and those people need to be aware of that, basically.
At what point would somebody say, "I want more"? So, say for example, they have been lifting for many years. They jump on TRT. They see a decent amount of growth and things like that. If they were deciding, "Hey, I'm going to go and compete now," what are some of the compounds that might come into play if you are competing at a relatively professional level? You know, you're on stage at the weight limit where basically everyone's kind of, it's open and people are using whatever components they want to. What are some of the things that come into play at that point?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's probably more compounds specifically for, you know, a dieting phase in, you know, a contest prep.
Okay.
Are we also talking in a lifestyle perspective too?
Sure. Yeah. Let's talk through everything if we can.
So I guess the first thing to note is it's not like, let's say you start at 100 mgs of testosterone. I'll ask you this now. If you start 100 today and then you push up to 500 milligrams next week, what do you think's going to happen purely by that massive jump 5 times your initial dose? What do you think's going to happen?
Like massive effects. I'm going to feel different. Totally different person.
I guess people have this idea that the moment you jump to a huge dose, you just...
That's what I assume.
That's what everyone thinks, right?
Yeah.
It's not quite the case.
Okay.
It's not quite how it works. I'm using 100 milligrams right now. I can start 1,000 milligrams tomorrow. I'll fucking look the same. So bigger dose doesn't equate to bigger tissue like overnight, you know.
But do you not like feel the testosterone when you have that much? That's kind of what I thought would happen.
You probably feel it a lot more.
Okay.
I mean, comparing 100 to 1,000, sure. Let's talk more like 100 to like 300-400. You might feel it a little more, but you're not going to just put on stupid, crazy amounts of tissue overnight.
No,
right?
of course not. Yeah.
That's what everyone seems to think. Oh, you're running a big dose. Like, all that's going to do is, well, think about it. If you've gone from 100 tests to now 300 straight in, what happens? There's a much more conversion rate of testosterone to estrogen. What do you have to do now? Oh shit, time to regulate E2, more DIM, more deglucarate, or, your AI or whatever. So more tests for the most part is probably going to equal to more sites than anything else.
Right.
Oh shit, I'm losing my hair now. It's too much DHT floating around. So you're kind of looking at having your testosterone regulated, right? So for the most part, you, as an enhanced athlete, you would want to run enough testosterone to make sure your levels are in super physiological range. So they're not like in your TRT section, right? That could be 200 tests, 250, 300, whatever, depends on the person. Then you look at stacking with other compounds. This is where the fun begins, right? Other drug compounds known for strength and like hardening and just, appetite increase, all those things. So I guess like the structure is to have your testosterone, at a point where it's not causing you any issues and is above natural ranges. Then you can go balls deep on whatever it is you want. And those compounds might look like, well, in a contest setting, you need to retain tissue, you're getting leaner, low calories. Folks, what is it? Tren, right? Then, there are other DHT compounds and things like Masteron, which, give you a real grainy cosmetic look. So it's more that you should be looking at other compounds you might like to try, other compounds based off of the result they give or the side effects they bring. So do things based on the side effects you want. Like I'm not really pushing up my dosages now because I've incorporated DHT-based compounds. I've grown my hair back from nothing. I don't really want to risk that. So I'm testing that, right? I've got testosterone right now. I've got Primo in the mix now as well, but I'm kind of like, okay, cool. If I start to push up from here or add additional compounds, I might start to see things, hair start to fall out, whatever else too. So yeah, there's quite a few combinations of drugs, but I guess bringing it back to if you've just started testosterone and you want to add more things on top, play with it. It's, you are the guinea pig here. See what works best for you. That could be a couple of 100 milligrams of Masteron, of Primbolin, of maybe try an oral steroid in Anavar. Depends the goal too.
And obviously, do your blood work with a coach, work with somebody who knows what these are. Don't Google it for the first time, assume it's okay, and put it into your body.
And that's the thing, right? People just don't have any clue. I'm not going to sit here and be like, get your training right before you start gear. It's like, how the fuck are these individuals like finding gear and just being like, oh, well, what do I do with it now? It's like, that seems to be the norm these days.
And when it comes to like competing and you're getting really lean and all that sort of stuff, compounds like clenbuterol and things like that, do they suppress your appetite as well? Would that not mean that at times, like at the end of your prep, you're starving, right? You're like very, very
During
hungry.
your prep now.
But at the start of your prep, is there ever a case where those types of compounds interfere with your eating and appetite and things like that? Is that ever a case that people have to think about?
Can be. So oral steroids can impact bile production and bile flow, which thus impacts appetite. Mm-hmm. And you hear about it and you read about it. Started D-bol, started Anavar, started Tren, appetite, you're having issues. So not things you really run when bulking, for example. But Clen is a stimulant, technically. Clen's like having 5 lines of cocaine right now. This is what Clen does to you. Can we see that?
Shaking.
A little bit. And Parkinson's. That's the effects of Clen. So it is a huge just stimulant for your brain to go, so it's like adrenaline and epinephrine and just, so it's not so much that it's like suppressing appetite. It's more that it's rapidly increasing your expenditure. So for example, you're doing 10K steps a day on Clen, that's probably 16,000, 18,000, but you're still just doing 10. That makes sense.
I see.
Right. So now you're deeper in your fat loss phase or in prep. You're getting leaner, ramped up steps. Appetite's only going to go up.
Yeah.
Only going to go up. Yeah.
Let's move along a little bit now.
I want a script.
Sorry?
I want a script.
You've been training now for, 15 plus years probably? Something like that.
it's 13 years. Last March, 13 years.
How do you think your training and also your coaching, how's that evolved over the years? What kind of things do you maybe think back and almost laugh at that you were doing when you first started? And what are the things that you really value now in the way that you train and the way you coach people these days?
Did you read my mind? I was going to make a story on this like yesterday.
Oh, mate.
Well, one thing I'm not going to do is read about how protein in milk is better for absorption than in water.
Yeah.
So bring a cup of milk to the gym and leave it in there in the hot summer's heat.
Gross.
In my good old Toyota Camry. Come out of 5-star straight to the milk. Chuck it on the roof of the car and mix it up and better for absorption. Things like that. I look back and kind of like, fuck, the things we did, which I'm sure people do in this day and age. But, if you don't know, you don't know, right? So more of like a training perspective. I mean, it's all about efficiency. And I guess you do it so often, so regularly, like it's, bread and butter. You show up, you get it done. You're not in the gym doing things like cable crossovers. People like to like crisscross over because you're hitting one pec more than the other. And you're kind of like,
Sure.
just do the fucking exercise as intended, brother. Fucking hell. So little bits and pieces like that. And how do you mean like in the coaching environment, like how I'm sort of...
Well, I mean, when you first started, you probably coach people in a specific way, but I'm sure there are some lessons you've learned and maybe some things that you do these days that you probably wouldn't have done when you were younger, when you were, a little bit less experienced.
Definitely.
Have you got any things that maybe you can share about how you coach people these days?
This would even date back to the PT days, to be honest. Automatically I thought that how I was training, everyone else needs to train. Oh, you don't want to be a bodybuilder? Too bad. It's a bodybuilding program. It's the best for you. Which, to be fair, definitely is the most efficient for the person. But I had just started working at Genesis Bandura as the fitness instructor, which is just the lead in for you to sign the contract and sign your life away and become PT. Anyways, you've all been there. And I remember you handle free sessions and people sign up and they get a free session and you're meant to like try to sell to them, whatever, standard franchise bullshit. And fuck, man, this is how much of an overachiever and like wanting to give people more and do the most all the time I am. And this sort of feeds into coaching now, to be honest. But back then, you've just signed up to Genesis Bandura. You're meeting me for the first time. Here I am. Hey, Dean, 5-day split. Here you go. We've got 45 minutes. Let me show you the whole fucking 5-day split right now. And I get to the full 45 minutes and be like, fuck, I only got through like 3 of 5 days. Here's your program, next client, next, sign up. I do the same thing. And I sort of came away, I'm like, fuck, how am I supposed to show them all this in 45 minutes? I'm already just doing more than what I needed to. Until one of the other PTs like, just give them a push, pull legs. And I'm like, oh, genuinely had no idea. I was like, whatever I needed to be like, they didn't give a shit. So I'm like, that's what I learned. Started to learn more about the industry and what you should be doing. And why am I logically giving this much to people I don't even know or aren't even paying me? All right. So that started to kickstart the business side of things. Which sort of leads into coaching now as well. You just know the right questions to ask. You know how to read people. That's why biofeedback is so important. So we're looking at your stresses, your sleep, your digestion, etc. If you've had a shit week, it's going to show on those numbers. So I address that. Hey man, your digestion bloated. Did you eat something differently? Or, I had an experience where I had a traumatic episode on the weekend. Oh, fuck. Okay. We can talk about it and whatever else too. So you just learn to, manage your time wisely and give people what they need. You just know.
Adrian, thank you very much, mate. Our time's up today. Thank you as always. Where can people find you if they want to find you on the interwebs?
You can Google my name.
You can
Google my name. I haven't done that, but I should probably do that. Instagram at Adrian Evangelou.
Facebook, TikTok.
Yeah, all the usual stuff. Just Google my name. You'll find it.
I'll put the links down below. Thanks again, my friend.
Thanks for your time today.
We'll chat soon.
See ya.